Good evening, everyone. Welcome to all the candidates forum for Art, Heritage, and Culture. I am your moderator, Erica Fisher. I'm pleased to join you this evening. I'd like to take a minute to acknowledge the homeland of the many diverse First Nations and Métis people whose ancestors have walked this land since time immemorial. We're grateful to work, live, and learn on the traditional territory of Treaty 8. Now, this forum is brought to you by cultural partners in our community. That includes the Art Gallery of Grande Prairie, Centre for Creative Arts, Grande Prairie Live Theatre, Grande Prairie Public Library, and South Peace Regional Archives. How it'll work this evening, we're going to ask pre-selected questions of the candidates for council. Will have 1 minute to respond, and I will hold them to it. Then we'll move to a new group of candidates with a new question. Each candidate will be called upon and respond to turn. If you have any questions, just put them in the chat this evening of the stream that you're watching. We will do our best to include them as well. After about roughly 80 minutes tonight, we will take a break, and then we'll move to the 4 mayoral candidates. Each mayoral candidate will be asked the same question. We have 4 major themes that we're looking to address this evening. They are culture and its contributions to quality of life, ensuring stable, reliable, equitable access to municipal resources, new initiatives or ideas to support the cultural sector, and culture and economy, tourism, and attracting and retaining talent and investment. With that, let's begin. A reminder, candidates, that you will have 1 minute to answer each question, and I will very much do my best to keep you to that. The first question is going to be posed to Ejibola Adetokunbo-Taiwo, Paul Rovin, Michael O'Connor, Solomon Okhifoh, and John Lehners. We'll start with Ejibola. Do you support investment in institutions which maintain archives and collections?
I do. I support such because we do have that sense of belonging. Everybody wants to have that sense of belonging, whichever community they reside. They want to have their history, their culture, their heritage being archived, being stored for, tourism, for learning, for teaching of the children. So absolutely, I do. I agree to that. We need to start taking that into consideration within the city of Grande Prairie to have as many archives of cultures and heritage that we can, so that we can educate and teach and enlighten, the residents, the youth in particular, particularly our kids, right? Because the youth, the children are the future of the community. So we need to be able to let them into the history and the heritage and every other thing they need to know. So yes,
Thank you,
absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, I'll turn to Paul Rovin.
Thank you very much. What I want to say in the beginning is that the culture is our identity. There is no community without the culture. So, as this community is a diverse community, yes, I support such. Just because we come from different area, from different country, we live here, and we want this community to become a home to our children. That's why we decide to run as a councillor to build this community, to make it look exactly what we want it to become. We want to build a place that our kids can be well rest and feel better, just as they were at home, wherever they are. So yes, I stand for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Next, we'll move to Michael O'Connor.
Thank you very much. I think this is a very important part of our community. Collections and sharing our cultures throughout our whole community is so important. And we need to keep records of our Indigenous, our new people that move here from other places. We need to have those records, and we need to be able to help people remember their past, remember and work forward to the future. So I think it is very important that our cultural society all works together and we each share each other's knowledge and dreams and passions. So I am in support of collections and being able to take care of our history and remember the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Next, I'll turn to Solomon Okhifoh.
Very much, Erica. And it was Bob Marley who wrote a song and said, if you don't know your history, then you will know where you're coming from. If you don't know where you're coming from, it's very likely you won't know where you're going. So, yes, with a resounding yes, I support keeping archive. Now, when the Europeans came to Africa, or even when they came to Canada, it's because the people didn't have written history. They didn't have archives. And so it was easy for them to overtake them. But right now with Canada, having documented everything that's happened since the beginning of time, since Canada came to be, it's not easy for another nation to just come and overrun us. Archive is very, very important to any nation and to any city. And so I will support as a councillor to beef up our archive so that the coming generation will know what has been and how we can move forward. Without some documentation, we wouldn't be talking about residential school and rest of them. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Sullivan. And the last candidate for this question is John Lehners.
Yeah, thank you. Obviously, archives and collections are important. I've been here all my life, and I love to see how we transform our history in today's stuff. I know my father was a big fan of the museum. He used to build, did some videos and historical videos, and you give models of plows and moonshine stills. And even today, I really enjoy seeing the utility boxes covered up with historical stuff and the park signs. I think that's a great initiative. And I think the downtown, the building signs, I just love how we incorporate that. And as part of my work, I'm also involved in the Hockey Legends of Grande Prairie with Stan Neufeld and that group, and looking at the history of hockey and the builders and the heroes. And it's just something that I really enjoy, I have a lot of passion for. So I carry that through if I get a chance. Thank you.
Thank you, John. We'll move on to our second question. This one's going to be posed to Grant Berg, Neil Tuazon, Dylan Bressey, Kevin O'Toole, and Gladys Blackmore. We would like to know, how can council support the efforts of the library and other cultural organizations in fostering a sense of community in Grande Prairie, particularly among newcomers, new parents, and new learners? I'll first turn to Grant Berg.
I do love the library, and I'm going to give them full props. Every time I go in there, they're doing something new and innovative. Now, as far as for newcomers, I haven't fully explored, but I would expect that there are library books from a variety of different countries and languages. So if not, that would be something that I would certainly want to see invested in more. I also appreciate the artwork that also hangs in the library. Usually it's a Trex exhibition, but I know that they have a lot of art too. So just the diversity that comes from that, from a variety of different cultures within the city. So overall, those are just a couple little things that I would like to see with the library, and I've always supported the library. I've had a membership for years. So yeah, I'm on board with that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Grant. I will next direct this question to Neil Tuazon.
Hello, Erica. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Yeah, and to fellow candidates. Yes, like the library is my life since I was a young kid, and books is part of my way of acquiring knowledge since I was young. So yeah, I'm going to support our library actually, because for maybe having some complete different kinds of cultures and information on different people here in our city as a diverse community, so that we will learn the different culture and learn what are the important history of every people that is been migrated here in Grande Prairie. And as I've said, if the library is not enough, if we can give more facilities, like open up a new library, I will support that if I will be going to have a seat on our city council. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. Next, I will direct the question to Dylan Bressey.
Great. Well, thank you for the question. And I know a value I have is the best answers often are found in City Hall. And for this question in particular, especially when you're talking about a guy, frankly, that looks like me, I think we need to collaborate with other people. And I think if we want good representation at those boards, we as a council frankly need to do a better job inviting diverse people to those boards and figuring out what are the barriers that stop them from applying in the first place. I also know that often outreach comes with a financial cost, and our library and some other groups in town are underfunded in Grande Prairie compared to other cities. So I think we need to get that funding up. We need to make sure it's keeping up with population plus inflation. And because without resources, it's impossible for these groups to do the important work with all groups that they really should be doing.
Thank you, Dylan. Next, I will turn to Kevin O'Toole.
There we go. Sorry. Yeah, I spent a lot of time on the library board as a board member. I helped build some projects. There's a meeting room upstairs that was built because of a financial donation to the library. One of the things that I know of that I was part of is large print books for people that are got some visual disabilities. We have books of many languages that are there. We also have a comfortable fireplace setting, so somebody that wants to read a book can read it over by the fireplace where there's some comfort. There's large windows so you can look outside. And why am I bringing this up? Well, a library is a gathering place. It could be friends, it could be family. And with that being said, it's a calming place. If you've got stress in your life, I know for a fact that you can go in there
Thank you, Kevin. Sorry about that. Up next, and the last person for this question, I've got Gladys Blackmore.
When I was on council between 2001 and 2010, I worked to help build the current library. I'm really proud of that. I think that's one of the landmark buildings in Grande Prairie, and I think that not only is it beautiful from the outside, but it's beautiful from the inside. So you can go in and you can, as Kevin mentioned, you can find all kinds of services and books and comfort, and it's a home for us. Through interlibrary loan system, you can get any book that's written anywhere in the world. It might take a little while to get to your hands, but you can get that book. There's books in all languages and for all ages of people. There's also programming for children. In the library, there's multiple language services there as well. And so I think that this is something we need to continue to support. And when our librarian comes to us and tells us that she needs more resources, we need to do our very best to make that happen, because we're not just meeting the needs of a small group of people, it's everyone.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to the next question. This one will be for Wendy Bosch, Tammy Brown, Kevin McLean, Yad Minhas, and Sarvinder Singh. The question is, what ways would you amplify the Montrose Cultural Centre as a major cultural hub in our community?
Hi, thank you for the question. Well, Montrose site was one of the sites that was chosen for the potential performing arts center, and I'd like to see a convention center attached to it. This would bring all the arts together, arts like dance, theater, music, and education. We have a catchment area of nearly 300,000 people and growing. As Grande Prairie is the economic driver for Alberta, we need to continue to build on what great things we already have here. Places like the Art Gallery, the library, Center of Creative Arts, they're doing amazing things now. What can we do in the future? With the growing shortage of labor, we need facilities like this to entice people to come here. It might be cliche, but quality of life is important. What we want to do on our time off, what we want to take our kids to, what we want to take our friends and visitors to. So tourism is a big part of that. Where we want to raise our children.
Thank you very much, Wendy. Up next, I'll turn to Tammy Brown.
Thank you very much for the question. Montrose Cultural Centre is just a really fine point and a building within our city itself, attached to the library, It is very pretty to look at and drive by, and a good center point for people to congregate at within the library and the art center itself. They also have a community building on the edge, which is great for conventions and for people to get together and gather, and for the community and do trade fairs and various things for our city. It has a lot of potential to be able to be used within the city itself. In the future, we could do more arts and dance and music within the building itself on the hall end. And it would be nice as time passes to be able to see the theater attached to it as the city grows. It would be nice to see that come and flourish within our community and the center part of our town.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Tammy.
Tammy.
Up next, I will turn to Kevin McLean.
Thank you very much, Erica, for this question. It's very important. This is how the community comes together. Montrose Cultural Centre was developed, but there was a committee of individuals many, many years ago, quite a few councils that said, let's get together and let's not build condominiums here. Let's make this a centerpiece of our city. Now, over time, there's been people trying to change that and different councils, and I believe we need to change that it cannot be. If it's a performance arts center, there was talk eventually at one time, archives and the museum, because where they are now, they're in a floodplain, and we may wake up one day and lose a lot of history. So this area of the city is very, very important, and there has been over time people trying to take bits and pieces away from us, and we need to make sure that does not happen. Properly plan for this area, and just as when the public school board education had their building, we decided to buy it. At the time I was on council, and right now it's a parking lot, but make sure the whole compass is the cities, and that must maintain. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Next, I will turn to Yad Minhas. Next, I will turn to Yad Minhas.
Thank you, Erica, very much. Montrose Cultural Centre is our great facility we have, and that brings a lot of events and multiculturalism, and also art and culture and entertainment stuff. We bring it to Grande Prairie, and that with that it comes a new people, and also it builds up a culture, which is I live in Grande Prairie since I was 1974, and I seen we got Grande Prairie culture is a very great thing. We got a lot of stuff up here. People can enjoy. The new people come, we can help them and do a lot of things with the tied with the library, and also library is helpful for us to understanding the other multicultural, a lot of culture, because a lot of kind of books, even you can read on internet a lot of stuff nowadays, but it was not in the before, but still there, our art and the culture.
Thank you very much, Yad.
That's what I want to say.
Thank you very much. I'm next turning to Sarvinder Singh, or I believe that we have Darian who is speaking on his behalf. Okay. I understand. Thank you so much. We'll move on to question 4. This one will be posed to Gerald Hafner, Melissa Erickson, Thiessen, and Michelle Jasper. Many of the city's platforms focus on affordable living. What role do you see cultural organizations playing in helping achieve this goal? I'll first turn the question to Gerald Hafner.
Hi, thanks for the question. Of course, this is all new to me, all of this stuff, you guys, because being green at this, I listen to you guys, I listen to your talk and the passions you guys have. And affordable living, that's something that's obviously pretty important. Grande Prairie has some of the highest, when you go to try to buy something, or families that are trying to move into something that they're brand new at, like when they move to town, it's fairly expensive to come here. So as I move forward with this in council, that's a tough question for me. And I have to be honest, I can't give a straight answer on it until I learn and understand a lot of that more. So I will probably learn from the followers that are going to answer the question after me, and that's how I'll utilize that as I move forward. So I apologize for that, guys, but that's going to be my answer to this question.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Gerald.
Yeah.
Up next, I will turn the question to Melissa Erickson.
Thank you, Erica. I just want to thank you for moderating and for your land acknowledgement earlier, and to the organizations that are hosting us here tonight. With regards to how the culture in Grande Prairie can play a role for living, it's my understanding that the arts and culture bring over $40 billion to the Canadian economy. So that's a huge boost to the economy. And we're talking about apparently over 600,000 jobs in that sector. So if you're increasing funding to arts and culture in Grande Prairie, that means you're increasing jobs in Grande Prairie, you're increasing spending in Grande Prairie, which in turn, again, that's that return on investment here. So I think that's the role that these cultural goals play in increasing affordable living. Because if people have jobs, they can afford to live. It is what it is. Grande Prairie is more expensive than other places, but if those jobs and that spending is happening in Grande Prairie, then it becomes more affordable.
Thank you, Melissa. Next, I will turn to Chris Thiessen.
Erica, sorry, unmute. Affordable living is really important. One of the things I'll point out first and foremost is that we do have a lot of a variety of culture events that take place in the city of Grande Prairie. Most of these events are, as we saw on the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation and with Heritage Days, they're largely free to the community to come in and to enjoy. And that provides a great sense of quality of life and gives people a sense of belonging as to where they're at. Not only that, they're exposed to the different cultures as well. So as far as recreation, part of that is provided through the things that we do. One thing I'd also like to talk about a little bit is we don't have any culture appropriate housing for landed immigrants or First Nations people. And if we can make affordable living spaces and empower culture organizations to be able to carry those projects, we can make affordable living a lot easier in this town. Thanks.
Thank you, Chris. Oh, someone's got a timer. I like it. I'll next turn this question to Michelle Jasper.
Thanks, Erica. I'm kind of on the same with Gerald here. I'm really new at all these, answering all the questions and whatnot, but I agree with having the library, the Montrose Cultural Centre close and accessible to everyone. Yeah, and it just, sorry, I can't, I partially heard your question and I am.
No problem, Michelle. The question was that many of the city's platforms focus on affordable living. I'm wondering what role you see cultural organizations playing in helping achieve that goal. You've got about 20 seconds left.
I'm gonna pass on the question. I'm just stuck on answering things real quick. Sorry.
I understand. I'll move on to the next question then. This one will be going out to Michelle again. Then we've got Yad Minhas, Kevin O'Toole, and John Lehners. The question is, how do you think about the role of art and cultural organizations in advancing efforts around reconciliation with Indigenous peoples? I will turn first to Michelle. You're already on my screen.
Can you repeat that once more? Sorry.
Absolutely. Yeah. How do you think about the role of art and cultural organizations in advancing efforts around reconciliation with Indigenous people?
I'm not sure how to answer that one. Sorry.
No, I understand. I appreciate it. I'll turn next then to Yad Minhas. I'll give my tech team a moment here to catch up.
Thank you, Erica. This is a very good question, and bringing the people them into the culture and art, we definitely needed the Aboriginal people. They had a very good culture, and because I've been involved with them long period of time with them, work in the old days. And if you see their art and culture, we have to bring into the city, which is, I think, being a counselor, I know that we're trying to get all the stuff to bring it together, but we had to educate them more to come, not too scared to come into the city and show their art. and culture said, but if they use it in the old days, because a lot of people are missing that part, like the Métis and Cree people, their grandparents knows it, but they have to learn that from them, and they should bring it to city more into our art and library stuff, what they have, the history of behind it. And it makes big difference when all the people get together and learn each other and
Thank
then
you.
listen to stories.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
I will next turn to Kevin
Kevin
O'Toole.
O'Toole.
Great. Thank you very much. What do I feel about cultural art? And I have been given Métis sash. I've been given the Indigenous sash. I've got a drum that I was given. I've got Inuit art, and to me, it's priceless in my own beliefs. I truly believe this is the region, and I think when I look through the parks, I go and see the polar bears and all the artwork that is throughout the city. And I'll tell you, I want to see more sculptures in the city. I'm fighting for it, and I want to see that happen. I truly believe that we've got some great artists, all types and categories and cultures, and I'd really like to see that an expose on the streets of the city of Grande Prairie and in some of our city buildings.
Thank you.
I've been kind of fighting for it for a while.
Thank you,
And
Kevin. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much.
And I'll last turn this question to John Lehners.
Yeah, well, thank you. I don't think you can truly understand a culture unless you can understand their history, right? So, since the Indigenous culture is not a linguistic carried forward kind of culture, it's one carried through linguistic storytelling over time. It's important that things like art are carried forward. You need to recognize that, and so everything from the wall art that you see on behind Grant Berg, and he's probably chomping on, really, how come I didn't get this question? But and to the live art, and that's even the blanket ceremony that kind of combines their history and the way they lived. And I think having council do that would be a great start to bringing that forward and getting that understanding. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
I'll move on to our sixth question. This one will be going to Solomon Okhifoh, Dylan Bressey, Kevin McLean, and Chris Thiessen. More than ever through COVID-19, we've seen that heritage is critically valuable for our community's sense of place and belonging. What further value do you place on heritage? I'll leave it first with Solomon Okhifoh.
What value do I place on heritage in the context of what is going on? That's very, very essential that the heritage of the people are respected, because everybody have a way of surviving. Everybody have a way of navigating issues. That is why, especially with what is going on right now, everybody vaccinate, everybody don't vaccinate, everybody do things this way. That is why you see a lot of people kicking against it. But I believe that the heritage of people have to be maintained, because they know how they deal with issue. They know how they navigate when situation arrives. Thank you.
Thank you, Solomon.
Thank you, Solomon.
I will next turn this question over to Dylan Bressey.
Great, thank you. I think we're in unprecedented times where we're facing a lot of community division. And I think that when current times are so contentious, there is a need to look back on what are our shared stories, what are our shared history, what are our shared values, and what are the dark side of those that got us to the troubling places we're at today. Because understanding is the beginning of fixing things and healing relationships, but also looking back at what are the beautiful things about either our shared heritage or our individual heritage. How can we share those with one another to build understanding of who we are as one people who live in Grande Prairie and multiple peoples that live in Grande Prairie. I think that this kind of understanding is key to the sense of community cohesion and community building a future we all can be proud of. I think that heritage really is important for us to figure out how to heal as a community in these really tough times.
Thank you,
Thank
Dylan.
you, Dylan.
Next, I will turn the question to Kevin McLean.
Can you hear me?
Absolutely,
Kevin, go ahead.
Thank you. Sorry, I thought I hit the button. Heritage is actually very important. You think of Grand Prairie, grand open fields for farming, and what the governments did from the past to bring people here to settle the land and to farm. Our heritage is beautiful. Yes, we have a past heritage that we have to learn from our heritage, learn from the past for the future, and how we evolve. Our children are paving that way now. They won't put up with nothing that's way negative one way. They want to look positive in the world and look at everybody the same. Most children are like that now. Mine are like that. And we have to secure our heritage, keep our archives and our history together, and learn from that as well, like I said. So Grand Prairie, Grand Fields farming. Now we have forestry as well for many, many years. We have mining coming up, oil and gas since the 40s and 50s. So our heritage in this area is immense. And you mix it in with also new cultures that come here to enrich it. And that's what makes Canada. It makes our heritage and brings everything together. And we are a strong country in the world. And positive. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kevin. And the last candidate for this question will be Chris Thiessen.
Well, thanks, Erica. I kind of want to ditto everything that's been said so far because they're all really, really great answers. And it's exactly what I was writing down. But heritage, as the question stated, gives us a sense of belonging, a placement of where we are in history and in our community geographically, and an understanding of where we come from. It's important for us to know that because we can learn not just the dark things about our past, but also the light things about how we got to where we are. The struggle of the pioneers when they were settling Grand Prairie, and the fact that we are in kind of a new territory, a new normal, where we have to act as pioneers ourselves with people from various different backgrounds and different cultures. So we're creating heritage every single day in improving our community and in understanding what our role is in the greater scheme of the world. So I guess that's all I can say. Thanks.
Great. Thank you very much, Chris. And now I'm actually going to repeat the same question for these next handful of candidates because I think it's an important one and I'd like to hear their thoughts on it as well. So the next question will be posed to Michael O'Connor, Tammy Brown, Melissa Erickson, Gladys Blackmore, and Neil Tuazon. The question again is, more than ever, through COVID-19, we've seen that heritage is critically valuable for our community's sense of place and belonging. What further value do you place on heritage? I will turn first to Michael O'Connor.
Thank you. Heritage is important for our community going forward. We need to be able to represent all cultures. And I was thinking about an opportunity to our community awareness by having a multicultural program that would have be called Get to Know Me, and the library and the art gallery would be a perfect host for this. Each ethnic group would be given the opportunity to describe who they are, what their culture is, what their foods are, examples of their art, their music, songs, movies, books. The sky's the limit. I know that this would take a bit of work, but perhaps the Grand Prairie Intercultural Association would take the lead and help facilitate this. I'm just thinking out loud, but I think heritage is very important. But if we don't know our neighbor, we need to know about our neighbor. And I think this would be a good way. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Next, I will turn the question to Tammy Brown.
Thank you. How heritage plays a role in as we go through COVID-19 is, as we look back in our heritage, we look at how we went through difficult times and how we as a people, culture, as families, as community have gone through difficult times together. And using our heritage is able to give us the looking back to be able to see how we deal with the situation. And a lot of times we found through COVID, stories were told, well, back when you were all locked up and this happened when the flu happened back then. And it gave people time to tell stories of how they got through it, to be able to cope with what was happening at the time. It also gave families time to be bonded together, to share their heritage within their homes as we were all isolated. And sharing, I know in our home, we shared a lot of music as our youngest daughter was going through her conservatory.
Thank you, Tammy.
Yeah, thank you very much for the question.
Up next, I will turn things over to Melissa Erickson.
Thank you, Erica. Obviously, heritage, as everybody else has said, it's critically important to our sense of self and our sense of belonging. So, like Craig, I want to say ditto here. But we do need to work together as a community to reconcile the Indigenous heritage of the land that we're on with those of us who have settled here. And I think that by working together to reconcile that, we are finding common ground and similarities that help us feel like we all belong, and that we can move forward past these trying times. As you mentioned earlier in your question, COVID-19, this is something that affects all of us. And, by discussing our heritage with one another and finding those commonalities, we can really work together to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Melissa. I will next turn the question to Gladys Blackmore.
I think we all find it fairly shocking how polarized our communities have become over the last 6 or 8 months as people argue about vaccine and anti-vaccine and protesting. And I think that we need to find ways to bring kindness and understanding and tolerance back into our everyday lives. And so I think that understanding each other's heritage goes a long ways towards that. It's similar to what we talked about last night with Multicultural Association, is that when you can understand someone's culture and you understand the heritage that they come from and the heritage that you come from, it gives an opportunity for people to become friends and to treat each other with respect and kindness. And I would hope that we can find our way through this not very polite time of the world to move forward.
I like it when someone gets to stop themselves. That's perfect. Thank you, Gladys. I'll lastly turn this question over to Neil Tuazon.
Yes, Erica, thank you again for that question. Yeah, heritage is very, very much important to me. That's the reason why my tagline is to have a safe, caring, diverse, and inclusive Grand Prairie. For me, heritage is history, future, and representation of our different culture. And to understand different culture of different people, we need to have, like, I will grab the word of our Councillor Thiessen, it's the sense of belonging and to know where we really came from. If our heritage will be known by different people in our community, then it will start, the respect will start from each other. And then we will understand how can we treat each other as a community and a society. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Neil. That takes us to our 8th question of the evening. This one's going to be going to Ejibola Adetokunbo-Taiwo, Paul Rovin, Grant Berg, Wendy Bosch, and Gerald Hafner. Many cultural organizations in Grand Prairie, notably the library, cite that they receive less municipal funding than do their peers in other cities. What is your plan for addressing deficits in funding to make services equal to that of other mid-sized cities across Alberta? I'll first turn it over to Ejibola.
Thank you for that question. I think we really need to look at the different organizations and look at the portfolio they carry, the people they serve, how large their target audience is, the importance of their services, and also look at the benefits that it brings to the city. I'm not saying some organizations bring more benefit to the other, but we do have, and I'm sure you know that we do have some organizations or infrastructure facilities that are bringing in some form of revenue or income in some form. We really need to weigh that. We really need to weigh the scale and not place every organization on the same scale. Look at the cost benefit and place everyone in their own tiers of advantage or of service that they bring, not trying to put. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will next turn the question over to Paul Rovin.
In a community like this, non-profit organizations are there to help the community grow. So in my own opinion, we should like make a research and know exactly which kind of organization, non-profit organizations are in our community. Then when there is any fund, we will go according to their objective or their mandate, and we will distribute the fund to help those non-profit organizations to help more the community, the people in our community. That's the only way everyone can be satisfied for the fund we have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paul. I will next turn the question over to Grant Berg.
Erica. I just had read yesterday, I believe, the funding chart, and I tried to find it here quickly, but I haven't. But in mid-sized cities across Alberta, the Grand Prairie Public Library was far and away the least funded per capita. I believe we were around $23 off the top of my head per person. On average, there's some around 50, 55. Sherwood Park was the one that really excelled. So over time, I would like to see us bring that up at the very least to average or fairly standard. As I mentioned, our library does outstanding things with the resources they do. Imagine if it was properly funded. I do know that these next 2 years are going to be extremely challenging with COVID, provincial cutbacks. So I don't know if I'm really in a position to say, yes, let's bring that up within a year, but it's something that I think we have to bring up slowly.
Thank you.
And one of the things as part of the Cultural Master Plan.
Thanks so much, Grant.
Thank you.
Up next, I will turn the question over to Wendy Bosch.
Thank you. I most definitely feel that our municipal government needs to support the art and culture sector. And one of the ways that I would like to see this being done is through a larger umbrella of economic development. So when our business sector is very strong, whether it's through industry or commercial, then the tax base is strong. So in turn, then the municipal government has more money to give our not-for-profits and organizations. So that is one way. I think that although there is many parts of our culture sector that are free or at low cost, there is other parts where you need the sponsorship to help you out, to bring in things like exhibits like the Passion Projects or exhibits in the Class A Art Gallery.
Thank you very much, Wendy. And next, I will turn this question over to Gerald Hafner.
Well, as this is all new to me, my thoughts at the beginning were exactly what Paul was talking about, and I didn't know the numbers with Grant, but because these guys have, they've been playing this game for a while now. They understand where we're sitting. I like the idea that Grant was talking about. We're sitting at, if he said we're sitting at $23, I really didn't know what that meant. I have to be honest, right? I'm new at this, but going forward, understanding that we're that far behind, we have to do things as Wendy was talking about. I know I'm grabbing off everybody's coattail, but that's how this works sometimes. We all feed off of each other's for ideas, and going forward, that's definitely where I would want to go towards is that. But I was really with Paul on that. That was my idea in the beginning. Is we have to work together at this and fund these things a little better in whatever direction we can go in. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Gerald.
Yeah.
This takes us to our ninth question of the evening, and I have a big list of candidates that are in order for this one. It's going to be going to Gladys Blackmore first, then Solomon Okhifoh, Chris Thiessen, Michelle Jasper, Gerald Hafner, John Lehners, Wendy Bosch, Ejibola Adetokunbo-Taiwo, and Michael O'Connor. The question: what do you feel are the major challenges, barriers, obstacles, or difficulties facing cultural organizations today? I'll first hand this question over to Gladys Blackmore.
One of the biggest handicaps is something that we just talked about in the last question, and that's adequate funding and adequate sponsorship. We need to work at that. And I really feel that the province and Grande Prairie in particular is going to start moving into an economic hot point over the next 2 to 5 years. I think that we're going to see industry pick up, jobs pick up, housing sales pick up. And so I think that we are going to be able to see that some tax base increase will happen, and providing extra funding or finding ways to get funding to arts and culture is key on the growth and keeping it alive. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gladys. Next, I will turn this question over to Solomon Okhifoh.
Thank you very much. I think some of the problem that is facing the art institution, number one is funding. A lot of them are struggling with funding because most of them give services that are free. And a lot of people, if it's some scientific innovation or something that you can see and keep, they pay for it. But when it comes to things like art, they don't want to pay for it. So that's one area. Then number two is strategy. The people that are involved in this need to formulate a strategy of how they are going to continue to exist. I won't take much on that. Then the other one is, like I said, is ignorance of the people. I like when Jeff came the other time, I told us how much that the art generate to the economy. I was blown away. So the more people know in the society, the usefulness of this organization, the more they will come to appreciate this group and help them to move forward.
Thank you very much, Solomon. I'll next turn to Chris Thiessen.
Thanks very much, Erica. Yeah, this there's actually quite a bit of barriers and challenges that we all face in this continuing COVID crisis. But I think one of the biggest ones is how do we create a connected community? How do we make people build their communities from within? And how do we resource our cultural organizations to engage people to help build that community so they can stay connected and have that community they belong to? Another big one, obviously it's been answered in other questions, but we've seen a lot of polarity and prejudice throughout the years. So how we integrate different cultures together, whether that's through the arts or whether that's through events or whether that's through organizations that seamlessly engage with them and bring them together, is going to be a big challenge. Resourcing, as everyone said, is huge. It's not just financing, it's finding the right people too. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Chris. Next, I will turn this over to Michelle Jasper.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel with the cultural challenges, adequate funding is definitely an issue, especially with COVID right now. It's kind of tough to do any major big fundraising events to raise money for that. But once COVID and everything settles down, hopefully soon, it would be nice to do fundraising events and brainstorm and lots of different cultural events to bring people together so everybody learns about different cultures and is more open in general. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Next, I will turn the mic over to Gerald Hafner.
Basically, Grande Prairie, I've been here 22 years and off and on before that. Watching it grow with all the diversity that we do have in this city has been amazing, with all the different groups we have. And you guys were talking about we do need more people helping in certain areas because for whatever reason, it's a weaker area and it shouldn't be, with all our culture and our heritage and everything. That's something we always need to go forward with in our city. So finding the right people and making it aware, there's got to be ways to make things more, I'm saying it all wrong, you guys, but to make our city more aware of what we have in this culture. So that's what I would do. There's got to be a way, and I would be definitely on board in helping do that moving forward.
Thank you so much, Gerald. Up next, I will turn things over to John Lehners.
Yeah. Thank you. You know, I wasn't an immigrant, but obviously, I've said before, my parents were immigrants. So I've kind of listened to their story and how they evolved, and they ended up forming the German Canadian Society 60 some years ago. And the reason they did that was to find community and support network that helps them grow. It's, you know, these organizations, they use these cultural organizations as a kind of a safety net to grab some comfort and some community. And I think that's important. And so we need to encourage that. But over time, as people become more connected and the awareness of organizations and they start working together, I think the need lessens, but they provide a really important role at the beginning. And I think Grande Prairie, if you can create opportunities for everybody, that's where people learn to intermingle and learn about each other. And over time, you know,
Thank you so much, John.
conflict disappears. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, John. Next, I will turn things over to Wendy Bosch.
Is difficult, and especially coming out of COVID, probably more difficult in our near future. It is the municipal responsibility, I feel, to advocate for our cultural organizations. Aside of that, I think we have to do more ourselves. So I believe that we can create partnerships within our own community. So building relationships that, for instance, uses Alberta tourism, regional tourism. I've worked with organizations like this, and they're more than happy to help. So we finding new ways to advocate for each other within our community, and aside the municipality advocating for our community organizations.
Thank you so much, Wendy. Next, I will turn to Ejibola Adetokunbo-Taiwo. Mic is yours.
Thanks for that question. I believe a lot of people have mentioned a lot of points like lack of funding, sponsorship, grants, but I would like to look at it in a different way. We need to start thinking of new ways that we can advocate actually for ourselves by collaborating more. We see, I was listening to a study that was recently done in regards to art and culture and, you know, with everything going on. And we see a lot of things like artists now going online and exhibiting their stuff online, where we have families, friends sharing. And this really gives them a lot of exposure, and having different people from different parts of Canada being able to join in, to participate, and to even buy stuffs and to showcase their work even to a wider audience. So we need to start thinking of utilizing technology, particularly now, in making sure that we still have things going on and not keep things at a standstill or making it stagnant.
Thank you so much, Ejibola. Thank you. And the last candidate for this question is Michael O'Connor.
Thank you very much. I think starting off, we need to grow our economy is critical in growing our revenue and ensuring stable, reliable, equitable access to municipal resources. So city councilors need to ensure that all nonprofits have access to stable, reliable, equitable municipal resources. They play a critical role, and our members are engaged, entertained, mentally stimulated, mentally well, and many community members face challenges, access servicing, including finances, their health status, their race, their ethnicity, gender, or sexuality. We need to encourage nonprofits to reach each and every one of them at their level and to minimize barriers as much as possible. As counselors, we need to ensure we provide financial resources to as many diverse agencies as possible. And this ensures a healthy, vibrant community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michael. Thank you so much. And we're on to our 10th and final question for our City Council candidates this evening. This question will be posed to Yad Minhas, Kevin O'Toole, Dylan Bressey, Kevin McLean, Neil Tuazon, Tammy Brown, Melissa Erickson, Paul Rovin, and Grant Berg. What commitment are you willing to make today in support of art, heritage, and culture in our community? I'll first turn this to Yad Minhas.
Thank you, Erica. That's a very good question, what we can do. I'm going to start with I used to call Cobra 19, but that covert made our culture actually, it did help some way to talking in the family, talking to the neighbor, and that developed a lot of people communications. It did damage quite a bit of the work because we don't have the fundraising stuff happen to the culture and all the other stuff. And doing that, we need to put the community together and also bring it back to the multiculturalism. And then you talk the indigenous people, we need all to work together to get our culture strong and art and bring all the history, our archive stuff. We need all put together, and a lot of stuff has been done. And like we are building new building in the city for archives, and that would help to increase our knowledge for the next generation.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you very much. Next, I'll turn this over to Kevin O'Toole.
All right, thank you very much. I've been very fortunate enough to welcome new Canadian citizens through Citizenship Court. And one of the statements that I always make is, do not leave your culture in your past country. Bring it to Canada, bring it to Grande Prairie, and celebrate it like you've never celebrated before. I've seen people from African nations, European, South American, Asian, come to Canada, and they feel that they want to start a new start, but they're timid. They don't know how to relate. So once again, I think we need to have programs out there that will welcome newcomers for sure, and make sure that they're being used, and also to be comfortable with their culture in Canada. And whatever it takes to do, we need to do it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Up next, I will turn things over to Dylan Bressey.
Great. Well, thank you. So I am a candidate who's published a very detailed platform. It's on my website. It's bressey.ca. You click platform at the top. And on it, I've committed to over 50 ideas that I promise to bring forward to council if re-elected. And I recognize arts, culture, and heritage as being important in not just my quality of life focus area, but also in my economic focus area, because this really is an important part of our economy. Some specific commitments I've made in my platform of ideas to bring forward is stable funding that's more predictable and transparent and grows with inflation and population growth once got up to where it already should be. Helping resource micro festivals so we can experiment with new endeavors in our community. Creating a community calendar so nobody ever has to say, I had no idea that event was happening ever again. And also significant investment in the Montrose Cultural Centre site to make it a more vibrant part of our downtown core. So I'm happy to share all the commitments I've made, over 50 of them, in my full and detailed platform.
Thank you, Dylan. Up next, we will turn to Kevin McLean.
Can you hear me, Erica?
I can hear you.
Okay, I'm just making sure I was having some trouble. Start with heritage. Of course, it's extremely important to save what we had in our past and within our future that will become our past. I do believe we really have to look at where our museum and where our archives are situated now in the flood valley. This needs to be brought forward. It will cost money. We can work with federal and provincial governments to try to allocate some of that money, maybe 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 to a new building for the archives and the museum. Secondly, art. The city, when I was on council the second term, brought forward a mother and two cubs in Mississippi Park. You see children's and mother now getting pictured with this. We need to do more of that throughout the city. And no one's really touched this. It's been beautiful, and I'm amazed by it. Culture, we have 80 different culture and ethnic groups within the city. It's huge. It's not minor, it's huge. And the other one is the next council has to work together as a team to bring forward the issues, not one person, not my ideas, where I'm going to go. The next council has to be a team to bring this together to work for our community.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you very much. Up next, I will turn things over to Neil Tuazon.
Thank you again. And to start, I really like the thing that Kevin McLean said, that the next council should be working together. Like it's not me, it's a team. And so to support this different culture so that the people can explore and learn about different talents, I think we also need to support the nonprofit organizations so that also we can expand tourism and build our community, I mean, our economy. Looking after like our parks and recreation facilities and other things that we can attract and retain our talents here in Grand Prairie and invest more so that people can see how we take good care of our culture and the different people in Grand Prairie so that they can participate and to help to build the economy and the stability of our city. Thank you very much, Erica.
Thank you so much, Neil. Up next, I will turn things over to Tammy Brown.
Thank you. I don't believe that it should be just one true event that we're supposed to be doing here in town to encourage our art and culture and heritage within our community. I think as a city, we need to be taking a look at how many ways we can do it in various little ways or even some larger ways altogether throughout the year that encourages all those three things within our community. Some of the things I'd like to be able to see, some of them might be small, things like people introducing arts into our community centers and our sports facilities. For instance, like our Eastlink Center, going in there and putting on display sculptures underneath glass domes for people to look at, or art on walls, and encouraging children and families to be able to experience that in other public areas within our community. Enriching people's lives with that, and with our community art, enriching people's lives with that, and encouraging our artists to come out. Yes,
Thank
you're
you
welcome.
very much.
Thank you.
Up next, I will turn the question over to Melissa Erickson.
Thank you, Erica. So what I am prepared to commit to today in order to support arts and culture in Grand Prairie, first and foremost would be to keep open ears, open heart, and open mind. I think I've been clear from the beginning of my campaign that conflict and collaboration are number one for me. So that's something that's very important. I'm also aware that taxes are a really big concern for the residents of Grand Prairie, but there have been reports in Canada that for every dollar spent on arts and culture, there can be a return of more than $17. So if we're looking at the portion of our taxes that is spent on arts and culture, that revenue generation can result in increases in the future. So I think that's a really important thing to note. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Melissa. Next, I will turn this question over to Paul Rovin.
Thank you very much, Erica. The city of Grand Prairie is rich in terms of diversity. In my opinion, I think it's time for us to come together to create a space that can help different groups of culture to come and show out their culture. It can be a dance. It can be even to let people or teach people about how their culture go. And especially now that we have this library for us, we have a lot of space there that we can use it to bring people together. That is the way we can be sure that people will be aware of this different culture. Because don't forget that our diversity here in Grand Prairie is our strength. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And I will turn to the last candidate for this question, Grant Berg.
Thanks. When it comes to arts, heritage, culture, I don't just talk it, I actually live it. I am a former Premier's Council on Culture. I sat on it under 4 different premiers, former chair of the Art Gallery of Grand Prairie. For 11 years, I volunteered with the Sexsmith Museum Society to save their elevator, which thankfully is in preservation mode now. I've invested my life. I own an art gallery here in town with 50% of the artists or more as local artists. So when it comes to art, heritage, culture, that's actually what I live and do. And that one of the big things and why I'm running is I feel with that experience, I can help take art, heritage, and culture to the next level from a seat on city council. So it's a lifelong thing for me, and whether I get elected or not, it's something I'm going to continue doing. But I think from a council chair, that's the strongest position I can take to advance that here in Grand Prairie.
Thank you very much, Grant. I'd like to thank all of our candidates for taking part tonight and everyone who's watching. As a bonus, because you were all so good on time and didn't get mad when I interrupted you, I'd like to offer each candidate 30 seconds to say their final thought on anything to do with arts, culture, and heritage in our community. And then we will return around 8:30 now to return with our mayoral candidates. So I'm going to go in alphabetical order, just the easiest way for me to have a list here. Let's start with Ejibola. Ejibola, I will give you 30 seconds here, and I apologize to the tech team. They're going to get mad at me here. We'll turn things over to Ejibola for 30 seconds on your final thoughts here.
Right, so I've heard a lot of my candidates here mentioning the fact that there's a need for diversity, there's a need for, learning about different cultures, heritage, and traditions. I would like to say one thing. If we want that to happen, then we need to have a diverse table. And what else do we want than to vote for Ejibola? She has that experience of bringing that diversity, that inclusion, that culture, that heritage that we want to learn about others and help lead that and be a voice in regards to that. But aside from that, please visit my website.
Thank you very much. I know 30 seconds is a very short amount of time. I'll turn things over next to Grant Berg.
Thank you. As mentioned, arts, culture, heritage is my passion. It's my life. I've got everything invested in it, not only financially, but as far as time. So it's just something that I'm going to carry forward and continue to fight for. I'm a Métis artist myself. I do have a public sculpture in the Mamaway Concourse outside of the Montrose Cultural Centre, which was a huge honor for me. So essentially, yeah, vote for me if you believe in a strong arts, culture, and heritage community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Grant. I will next turn things over to, well, you know what? I've got Dylan Bressey on the team. I'll turn over to Dylan first. Dylan Bressey, go ahead.
I want to use my time to say thank you. So many of you watching volunteer in the space, and those of you that work it give probably way more hours for less money than you deserve for the value you give to our community. I freaking love living in Grande Prairie. I never want to leave, and it's because of beautiful spaces like our library and art gallery, great events like the Bear Creek Folk Fest, and the festivals we have downtown, such as the Street Performers Festival. And so many of these art, culture, and heritage things are so good for me and my family. So thank you so much for everybody who makes it possible. You're such a key part of our community.
Thank you very much, Dylan. I'll next turn over to Tammy Brown. Sorry, we're going slightly out of order here, but I appreciate your going along with it. Tammy, go ahead.
Yes, I want to just say I really believe in serving our community and making Grande Prairie our proud home. And to do this, yes, it means working with our arts and our culture and our heritage and bringing it together within our community so that we can feel our community strengths together. And our city residents want to achieve this all together to bring that art and culture and have it grow within themselves and their families. It's really important to have that for each family and each person within our community. And thank you very much for those who take part in it. Like Dylan said, it's wonderful to have your abilities and your skills and your talents brought forward. And thank you.
Thank you very much, Tammy.
All right, thank you.
Up next, we're going to move on to Melissa Erickson.
Thank you, Erica. I just wanted to touch on, I do believe that there are immeasurable benefits to ensuring that arts and culture in Grande Prairie are supported by City Council and by residents, but there are also very measurable financial benefits, such as bringing people into town, increasing jobs, increasing local spending. So let's continue to collaborate and consult with the arts and culture groups in Grande Prairie. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Melissa. There we go. Up next, we've got Gladys Blackmore.
Thank you, Erica. Arts, culture, and leisure is what makes our community livable, enjoyable. It's what makes our summers glorious and what makes our winters bearable. And I have always supported and will continue to support arts, culture, and leisure. And as I have in the past, I believe in the city of Grande Prairie. This is our home. Let's make it great. And so vote Gladys Blackmore, GladysBlackmore.com. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Gladys. Up next, we have Wendy Bosch.
Thank you. Well, I love Grande Prairie, and I think every citizen here deserves to be a community that they're proud of and a quality of life that is possible. I've had the privilege in recent years, working with the Downtown Association, to bring new forms of art and culture to our community. Things such as the busking program, which is free to the public. Things such as Art in the Alley, which is also free to the public. And with using our local artists, we have so much to offer.
Thank you very much. Up next, we have Gerald Hafner.
Well, listening to you guys all for the last 80 minutes has been quite rewarding. I've learned lots about this area. It's not something I am prominent at. My passions lie elsewhere within the community, but listening to a guy like Grant Berg and his passions, I completely relate to that. And I have a loud voice, and if elected in, we have such a diverse group of people here that whoever is voted into council, there's going to be some great changes made, I believe. And it's just because of the diversity that we do have. So I would love to be a part of that. And I love hearing all your guys' passions. And for Grande Prairie, it's going to be a good group that's coming in this year. Not that it hasn't been in the past.
Thank you very much,
Gerald. To make the changes. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you very much. Up next, we have Michelle.
Thank you. Actually, I would just like to see a yearly cultural event, possibly maybe in Muskogee Park, with individual tents set up with arts and cultural information on display, as well as music and dance on the outdoor stage, showcasing each culture, some food trucks, just bringing people together to learn about each other, just so we can build on our community. And that's it. Vote for Michelle Jasper. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Up next, we have John Lehners.
Yeah, thank you. Well, it's opportunity that brings people here, and it's culture and community that keeps them here. It's kind of the spice of our community, and it's important. But I think the city's job is to preserve and promote and to participate and follow the lead of champions in this community, like the Wayne Ailings and the Sarah Cards and even the Grant Bergs, and really help them along and make Grande Prairie a great place to be. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. Up next, we'll turn to Kevin McLean.
Well, thank you very much. I hope you can hear me. Very proud of our community's diversity. We sit in an abundance of a geographical area where we have vast amounts of forestry, a lot of dead dinosaurs, and beautiful land for growing agricultural. We need to come together as a team. The next individuals that are elected, work together for our community to enrich it even more, because our future is very, very bright, and we can do it together as a team.
Thank you very much, Kevin. We'll next turn to Yad Minhas.
Oh, so my turn. I thought it was not. Thanks, Erica. But I would say, I have a proud to be in Grande Prairie, and I really loved our culture in Grande Prairie because we got so much diversifications. But I would say one example, like we got Heritage Day. It used to be, we get government funding from the federal government before. It was very popular for a while, then it died down, but it's doing it not too bad. But those culture events, we do need more, do more things. But that day, lots of community comes and they do all the celebration and singing and song. And also, I really like this year, like when we did have in the South. Good, thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll turn it to Paul Rovin.
Thank you, Erica. I, Paul Rovin, have been going around this community, talking to people, volunteering, just to get to know people and to find a way how I can bring those people together, because I come from different culture. So having said that, this time around, I can realize that a lot of people really want to become one, just like our diversity in this community. And like I said before, this diversity is our strength. We have to take advantage of that and make things work in this community. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll turn to Michael O'Connor.
Thank you very much. I have spent the last 9 months Zooming into city council meetings. I have been treating this like a full-time job. I love this community. I moved here and I loved it, and I love being part of this community. So vote for Mike O'Connor, and love this community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mike. We'll turn to Solomon Okhifoh next.
Thank you very much. In every one of us exists an artist, and every one of us have a culture. Given the right environment, we will all thrive. That is why I'm running to become a city councillor. If the city is not safe, if we don't have strong economy, if the city is not affordable, and if we don't live in harmony, art and culture will take a second place. We don't want that to happen. That is why you should vote for Solomon Okhifoh to make all this a reality. Thank you, Prairie.
Thank you very much, Solomon. Next, we'll turn to Chris Thiessen.
Thanks, Erica. I actually made my mark and my name promoting the arts and cultures in this community. And this community is home to world-class facilities, incredible organizations that provide quality of life opportunities through programs and services that are rich, talented, and diverse arts and culture scene provides. They create benevolent impacts for the overall wellness of our community, and it gives people that sense of place and belonging where they are and where they can create a new life together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chris. Neil Tuazon, you're up next.
Yes, arts, heritage, and culture is a part of life of our community. I'm also an artist myself. If I will be having a chance to have a seat on our city council, the arts and heritage and culture will be my top priority. A safe, caring, diverse, and inclusive Grand Prairie. If you vote for me, we will make it happen. And thank you very much, Grand Prairie. I love you.
Thank you so much, Neil. That concludes the councillor portion of our forum this evening. If you join us back in about 7 minutes or so, we're going to be set to have our mayoral candidates at about 8:30. Thank you so much, and please make sure you do your research and join us on other forums this week. My pleasure. Oh, you know. Forum for Art, Heritage, and Culture. If you missed it, we just spoke with all of our city council candidates. Unfortunately, I did a big no-no. And in the tech world, I forced them to do a last-minute change, and I gave everyone 30 seconds to wrap up. And unfortunately, you missed one of our candidates. So I thought we'd start things off in this second portion of the evening with giving Councillor Kevin O'Toole 30 seconds to give us a little bit of a summary on his thoughts on art, heritage, and culture. Kevin, go right ahead.
Thank you very much, Erica. Few terms ago, I got a conversation going with Lauren Radburn and Helen Rice. Lauren told me, he says, when you come to the table, come with an open mind. I never ever thought I would ever go to the Real Shorts Film Festival. I went, I brought my family, we enjoyed it. We've been there many, many years. And I want to thank everybody that produces that. And with that, vote O'Toole in the fall. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kevin. If you are just joining us on our live stream, our format this evening is fairly simple. We're going to have 1 minute for each candidate to answer each question. Each candidate for mayor will answer all of the questions, so there's no juggling around like we did with our initial candidate one. We'll get things started here with our first question. Now, our 4 candidates today are Brian Patrician, Eunice Friesen, Jackie Clayton, and Glenn Gruner. That is the order that we will go in for question 1. The first question that I have for you this evening: what do you feel is the city's role in supporting the culture of our community? I'll start with Brian Patrician. Oh, sorry, I'll start with Eunice Friesen here on the camera.
Thank you very much, Erica, and thank you for hosting and for having this event. So the city's role in support of arts and heritage and culture development and funding is to first and foremost provide pathways for you to do the work that you have to do and that you want to do and that so richly provides for our community. So pathways are, we help you out with advocating for grants when you need them from other levels of government. We help you out through our own funding streams, and we help you out by giving you your free rein to do what you want to do in our community. And that is how we get richly rewarded, just through letting you do your thing and making sure that you have the means to make that happen.
Thank you so much. Eunice. Next, I will turn that question over to Jackie Clayton.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for having me here tonight and for everyone who might be watching. The city's role in regards to culture is being committed to creating a more urban environment while maintaining a high quality of life, which in turn will attract professionals and skilled laborers by providing cultural service and amenities. Culture fosters local pride. It creates an livable, attractive community. It engages youth and it educates us. It gives us an opportunity to bring people together and share and appreciate diversity. If we don't have culture, we won't be able to be interlocked and work together. And culture allows us to be connected with the world around us. So the city's role is to introduce people to various cultures that are currently living within our city and create a livable city.
Thank you very much, Jackie. I'll next turn that question over to Glenn Gruner.
I feel for Grand Prairie, they need to work really, really hard on maintaining history. Funding for the archives in all of the Peace region is pretty good, but we were really late to the game. So a lot of funerals usually have the relatives donating items. So getting that message out there, because some people don't know that. So that's what I feel we should mainly focus on. When it comes to art, I'm not really, I like my own art, but I don't really go out of my house to go to art events and stuff. But I believe in direct democracy, so I kind of already know people support it. The question is, how much money do we want to put towards it? And we've never had that conversation because we always rely on politicians to be our avatar. And I feel that with the internet technology we have, we just need to cut right to the chase and go with direct democracy. And that's my message.
Thank you very much, Glenn. We'll move on to our second question of the evening. The order that we'll be calling in is Eunice, Glenn, then Jackie. What ways do you consider that city financial support for cultural organizations is an investment in our community? I'll turn this question over to Eunice.
So it's really easy to talk about prosperity and economic growth that we see as a result of our investment in arts, heritage, and culture. I do it too, but it's really much more than that. What it gives back, I mean, it certainly does in very direct ways contribute to our economy. Night in a hotel, meal out before a show, that sort of thing. But it's much more than that. It creates quality of life. In Philadelphia, for example, there is an association between neighborhoods where cultural investment was a priority, and it resulted in poverty reduction, better childhood outcomes, fewer cases of ethnic and racial discrimination, and lower morbidity. And I want the same thing for Grande Prairie. As mayor, one of my proposed initiatives is community wellness, developing a strategy where we acknowledge our increasing mental health stressors and our lack of connection. And in that, I include provision for grant funding for projects, micro festivals that can be done quickly, and other initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll next turn the question over to Glenn Gruner.
So much like the REA, where the farmers got together and created the Rural Electrification Association. But, I think it's pretty much all gone now. There might be one holdout left. So we pretty much as a society have said, municipal government, art, handling all that is kind of their role to at least organize and centralize it. And then the charities kind of just pop up on their own, because a single individual can do quite a bit if they've got a passion and a lot of free time. So the city basically is a central hub and a central authority, and there is no alternative. So there's no avoiding doing the job. It's just what we expect from municipal government, because you got to go out and do stuff sometimes. People want to learn about other cultures and eat their food. And then just, diversity is, everyone loves diversity in the sense of like thought, food, cultures, ideas, experiences, and information and knowledge. And it's just,
thank you so much,
Glenn. Sorry.
I can repeat the question? No problem. What ways do you consider that city financial support for cultural organizations is an investment in our community? I'll turn this over to Jackie Clayton.
Thanks so much, Erica. Cultural funding and planning in Grande Prairie needs to be looked at a broader context. Cultural funding in our community not only really provides the fiber that brings us together, it also acts as an attraction addition for attracting professionals, retaining people in our community, and people move to Grande Prairie for a job, but they stay for the people. So bringing people together really is what keeps our community going, and it's sort of the grease between our spokes. And I think that if we were to look at a broader context of what this funding does, it wouldn't always just be seen as arts funding, cultural funding, heritage funding, because it really has an economic impact as well, because it actually can be a driver not only for economic stimulus, but it also can be something that keeps our community stronger. And in the downturns like we've seen in the last 18 months, it can bring the thing that brings a smile to your face. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jackie. That takes us to our third question for the evening. First, I'll turn it to Jackie Clayton, then Glenn Gruner, then Eunice Friesen. How do you think about the role of art and cultural organizations in advancing efforts around reconciliation with Indigenous people? I'll turn that first to Jackie Clayton.
The Grande Prairie Art Gallery has done an exceptional job of integrating themselves within culture and Indigenous relations, really educating people and providing an opportunity to learn about the importance of truth and reconciliation. Whether it started with the Moccasins exhibit a couple of years, probably more than 2 years ago now, or if it's simply bringing in different diverse exhibits. The Art Gallery, the Montrose Cultural Centre, as well as the Heritage Centre have done a great job of making inclusive opportunities for truth and reconciliation. It can be a little intimidating to learn about truth and reconciliation because it's hard to determine what your role should be in that until you really get engaged in it. And these facilities have done a great job to make it inclusive so that people can be comfortable learning and feeling comfortable asking questions about what their role is in truth and reconciliation. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Jackie. I'll next turn that question over to Glenn Gruner.
I'm glad somebody is making an effort. I'm a bit of a shut-in, so I don't really go out too much until about 5 years ago. So the thing is, the Truth and Reconciliation, I've been watching this go on for like 3 decades. And there's other problems I'm aware of, like that fishery fighting that was going on in Nova Scotia. I remember that in the news in 2001. So, I mean, it's better than doing nothing, but like, I feel like we shouldn't be delegating this on to nonprofits and politicians either. It's almost like we really, because like in South Africa, what they had was really a massive infrastructure to have meetings and discuss, because they were actually like having trials. So it was a way bigger deal, because it's a really complex issue. And I feel like we're kind of just going with half measures. And I feel like in 20 years, we're going to be having the same conversation. And that's.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much, Glenn. I'll next turn the question over to Eunice Friesen.
Thank you, Erica. So our facilities broaden our horizons. They increase our understanding. You know, many people think that arts and culture is really window dressing to a community, but it's much more than that. It's access to our visual and performing arts and cultural events and information about our history, the experience of those who came before us and those who have joined us. And when we have access to this, our minds are opened to new ideas and points of view. We're given a glimpse into the experience of other times, other places, and other people. And that broadens our own existence. And truth and reconciliation fits in here. We need to understand that experience. Arts and culture helps us to do that. What the library has done recently, just on Truth and Reconciliation Day with the Reflection Room. Recently, I was invited to the art gallery to do some beading, and then that was canceled because of COVID. But these are the opportunities that we can have to be immersed in and gain better understanding of what it means to really have reconciliation.
Thank you so much, Eunice. That takes us to the fourth question of the evening. I'll first turn to Glenn, then Eunice, and then Jackie. Within the next 20 years, Grande Prairie is projected to experience the largest population growth outside of Edmonton and Calgary in Alberta. With that in mind, how would you like to see cultural services provided by the library, the live theatre, the archives, the art gallery, and the Centre for Creative Arts expand to support our growing community? I'll turn that question over to Glenn Gruner.
Well, I believe we already have a welcome center, but a giant sign when people just arrive from the airport or driving in, stuff like that, to because one of my ideas is to have basically an app for the city, and that's because while we go on the internet to go on social media, that's not really working because it's too big. It's the whole internet, so we need what's called an intranet, just like a Grande Prairie area-based way to communicate with people. So that's kind of what I want to provide, and basically having the authority of the mayor behind it will get people to engage so that we can have real conversations. And there will be anonymity, but you can't have like 50. I'm a big privacy advocate, so I don't want to be storing people's personal information, but I need to like verify people actually live in Grande Prairie. But yeah, that's not set up for these questions. I'm not quite a politician. Anyways, that's all I got to say.
I appreciate it, Glenn. Thank you so much. I'll next turn that question over to Eunice Friesen.
Thank you, Erica. I'm not entirely sure which direction to go here. Funding, of course, is incredibly important. A healthy economy where residents and businesses have the resources to be generous in the way that Grande Prairie can. This term, we made some changes to the way we did funding for our nonprofits, and we had some unintended consequences, so we don't quite have it right yet. So I am committed to reviewing that funding by looking at what works in other municipalities across Canada and create a funding model that's predictable, that keeps pace with inflation and grows with our population based on best practices from other communities that are doing it well. And I'm committed to collaborating with our neighbors so that wherever we can optimize our facilities and our dollars spent. We can go fast alone, but we can go further together. And I made a motion last month to update and integrate our master plan for recreation, arts, and culture so that we understand the best places to put our money as we have to develop our facilities when our population grows. Thank you.
Thank you, Eunice. And I'll turn that question over to Jackie Clayton. Jackie.
Thanks so much, Erica. Having a full array of recreation, arts, and cultural amenities within our region is extremely important, not just for our residents, but for those professionals who are considering calling Grande Prairie home. The amenities need to be diverse but affordable. Facilities such as walking trails are necessary and day-to-day offerings that we use on a regular basis. However, having facilities that allow high-level athletes, competitive arts and culture, stages for opportunities for people to express their art is an added tool that also can be used for recruitment. As we continue to grow, these facilities need to be considered, but the existing facilities that we have can also be considered to be retrofit. We don't always need to build a new facility. We can absolutely increase and improve the facilities that we have. We're a young, family-focused city, but we're also a winter city. With that in mind, we need to provide cultural, arts, and recreational opportunities for residents to participate in the coldest, darkest days.
Thank you very much, Jackie. I'll move on to our fifth question here. We'll start with Jackie Clayton again, then go to Eunice Friesen, then Glenn Gruner. Arts organizations, archives, and the library all contribute to lifelong learning. Describe how you believe lifelong learning is important for our community. We'll start with Jackie Clayton.
Bringing my children to the library at the young age was a great step to introduce them to culture, and especially in our facility that is located next door to the art gallery. Now, when you have a young child, you can easily transition from library to art gallery. I think that as children grow through the ages, the art gallery does a great job of integrating kids in school so that they're familiar and comfortable in the art gallery. As you get older, maybe you've now moved on to post-secondary and you visit other communities and you have an opportunity to experience culture. Getting out of your regular sort of circle of interest is extremely important in order for people to diversify in their knowledge of cultures around them. So as you continue to grow, there may be different interests in your life, but it's really important to subject yourself to new learnings, new cultures, new forms of art, new forms of recreation, new forms of festivals. And so as you continue to grow, I think that if people just create new interests, then in turn they will continue to grow.
Thank you very much. I'll turn that question over to Eunice Friesen.
Thank you very much. Jackie said it so very well, the importance of lifelong learning. As we grow and develop from childhood to me, I'm back in school now at 52. And that is all made possible because of the opportunities that I've had to look at different things that interest me throughout my life. The thought is out of my head. I had such a brilliant point to make. Oh, one of the things that I love the best about the integration of the art gallery and the library, I've been to shows at the art gallery and left there and gone over to the library to look up and understand more about what that show was about. And that's how we look at our facilities as integrated in that way. And yeah, I think that's all I've got to say about that.
Thank you, Eunice.
Jackie's really.
Thank you so much, Eunice. I'll next turn this question over to Glenn Gruner.
So lifelong learning is like an addiction for me. I've forgotten so much and your memory betrays you. So you always got to double check anything you say anyhow. But yeah, I believe it's an ounce of prevention is worth like probably 200,000 pounds of cure. You got to get those kids interested in things early on. So I'm kind of like going to be like anti, focus entirely on kids so that they go out there and they're on their, they'll learn on their own because they'll love it. And with the technology we got now, it's great. You do have to learn how to sift through misinformation, which is a lot of work. And that is why so much misinformation is around. And it's just so much easier to treat things like sports and just pick a side and cheer for it.
Thank you so much.
But politicians aren't all like that. Okay.
Thank you so much, Glenn. That takes us to our final question of the evening. I'll first give it to Jackie, then Glenn, then Eunice. Measuring quality of life can be challenging for cultural nonprofits, though they contribute broadly. What ways do you like to measure quality of life in our community? I'll turn this over to Jackie Clayton.
Measuring quality of life means getting out and meeting people. And the part that's most important to me in regards to meeting people is learning about them. Throughout my more than 20 years now in Grande Prairie, I've had an opportunity to work in so many various organizations, nonprofit groups, giving my time. And the reason that I enjoy giving my time is because the reward of meeting new people and establishing new relationships. I think back to one of the first people who engaged me in volunteering in Grande Prairie was Gail Hackstead. And through meeting Gail, I had the opportunity to work with Carmen Hackstead in the chamber, and getting to know Carmen through the chamber, I got to realize that he was an artist and an athlete. And I thought that that was such a unique combination. So like Berg, Carmen Hackstead and Gail Hackstead really created a sort of a niche within the community where people could feel comfortable about integrating different parts of art and culture, sports, business. So I really enjoy that sort of integration within our community and what it does for fostering local pride. Creating a livable, attractive city is extremely important to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jackie. I'll next turn that question over to Glenn Gruner.
I live by the Rotary, so this is like a controversial topic. Quality of life is kind of why I'm running. I want to increase my quality of life really badly. But yeah, running a hillside neighborhood association for a while. Yeah, that's what makes the quality of life is pretty much the main thing that gets people out to complain about things. So we all come together, we commiserate. So identifying the problem and then as a community coming together and voting on what we should improve our quality of life is a good idea. And that's why I'm running. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Glenn. Lastly, I will turn that question over to Eunice Friesen.
Thank you. And I remembered what the other point that I wanted to make, so I'm going to split my time going back for a moment to that previous question about the about lifelong learning. There's an important consideration about the library, and that is that it is accessible to everyone in Grande Prairie. And that means that our most vulnerable residents can use the library, use the computers. It may be their only access to a computer to look for a job, to take the courses that they need to in order to get that job. So that's really critical to maintain that. And as far as quality of life, quality of life in a community is one where residents can live their lives productively and feel supported in their efforts, feel connected to their neighbors. And now more than ever, we're feeling that disconnect, and that's hard on our mental health. So I think if we have the opportunity to close, I'll leave my next comments for that.
Absolutely. Well, Eunice called it. We have been good on time tonight, which is fantastic. I appreciate everyone letting me interrupt them. We have about 4 minutes left before the hour, so I thought I would offer each candidate a minute for a bit of a closing statement when it comes to things like art, culture, and heritage in the community. We will go alphabetical order to make things nice for the tech team, and I'm not screwing them up this time. We'll start with Jackie Clayton.
Thanks, Erica. I wanted to talk about the opportunity that I see on the horizon for our city in regards to tourism that engages not only sport tourism and festival tourism, but arts and cultural tourism. What that means to me is various types of festivals and events that can include a variety of things: ice sculptures, light displays, outdoor art festivals, food festivals, kids festivals. The possibilities are endless, and adding these missing elements to our already active list of opportunities in our region will absolutely help to attract, recruit, and retain professionals. Not also to forget about the great source of economic activity. In closing, I just quickly want to remind people that I truly am a passionate person about the city of Grande Prairie. I've lived here for slightly over 20 years. I'm business-minded and future-focused, and I believe that together we can build an even better community at an affordable cost. I'm committed to Grande Prairie today and in the future. To learn more about me, please visit my website at jackieclayton.ca. Thank you for your time this evening, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you very much, Jackie. I will next turn it over to Eunice Friesen.
Thank you. You know, it's easy to talk about developing arts and heritage and culture for the attraction of professionals, but what we really need to understand too is the impact that it has in the lives of every person in Grande Prairie. And when we take care of our people first, our businesses will thrive and we will attract our professionals. And the way to take care of our people first is through offering a safe, inclusive, caring, diverse environment that has a number of cultural benefits. I have 3 proposed new initiatives on my platform at unicefriesen.ca. 2 of them directly benefit arts, heritage, and culture because arts, heritage, and culture directly benefits our people. And the 3rd is directly supported by arts, heritage, and culture. So please have a look at my proposed initiatives and the priorities that I want to continue with if I'm elected mayor in about a week and a half. So unicefriesen.ca, you can have a look at my proposed initiatives related to this and other topics. Thank you.
Thank you, Eunice. It is crazy. October 18th is really right around the corner. And of course, we've got advance polls before that. I'll lastly leave it with Grin Gruner for your final closing statement.
I'm just going to do a shout out to the people that came up with the idea to do the wraps around utilities. You guys are geniuses. Because I've been doing patrols for so many years, I saw the before and after. And yeah, they were reluctant to damage something that looks nice. So let's make everything look nice. But yeah, just shout out to them. I really should have researched and given credit to them exactly who it is, but you all have internet, so you can all look it up yourself. And I think innovative solutions like that, I don't know if other cities have tried it or where things like that are great. And then a shout out to the no-kill shelter idea. These are things that like 20 years ago, I should have thought of myself, but they caught on all on their own. And I'm really, I'm like a shut-in, so I'm just kind of like, good job, everyone. I've seen things that you've done, and I appreciate people that do volunteer their time. I've only done neighborhood association stuff, which is commiserating and not really, well, we did do some things for the schools, but like I said, that was mainly the president to get enough people on the council. Anyhow, it was great listening to you guys, and thanks for everyone that came out.
Thank you so much, Glenn. At risk of being incorrect, I actually believe that's a City of Grande Prairie initiative, and people can actually submit their art to it. I want to thank everyone for taking part this evening, both our city council candidates and our mayoral candidates. Little selfish plug for myself. If you are looking for more information on all the candidates, I've compiled all of their websites, their social medias, candidate profiles that we've done, all that good stuff up on our website, mygrandprairienow.com. I would highly encourage that you attend more of the forums that are coming up. I know there's one going to be planned for sport and recreation tomorrow evening and put on by the Regional Sport Connection. So please continue to learn more about all the candidates and have an informed choice. And please go out to vote, whether it's in the advance polls this weekend or next weekend or on the 18th. With that, I will wrap it up. Thank you so much, everyone, for taking part this evening. It has been a pleasure.